Yo, what's poppin', people? Your boy Snacks is back in the building with another banger. And you know how we do before we get started. Y'all know exactly what to do. It is Christmas freaking Eve. And I hope y'all are gathered around with your loved ones and everybody is doing their thing. I hope everybody's having a good time. But before we get started, you know what to do. We like to give our appreciation for you guys watching. And while you watching, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to turn your post notification bell on so you'll know when your boy is going live or dropping this heat. And y'all know where the bell at. It's right there. Right there. See that little bell right there? Hit that. But as you know, we are staying on track with this Shilo Sanders bankruptcy case. And we've been reporting it since it started, you know. And if you want to catch up on it, there will be a playlist. There is a playlist, but I will put the playlist up top somewhere, and y'all can just click that. Or after you get through watching this video, just go to the playlist, and you can go all the way back to where we started from in the beginning and catch up with what's happening in this case. But Shilo seemed to have some good news today from this judge. And we're going to check it out and see what's happening. It looks like everything's turning around. Just like I told you they more than likely would. Look like what was going to happen for Shilo is starting to happen. That this judge is reading into all the back stuff that happened in Texas and like some ain't right. So we're going to straighten it all out. But let's check it out and see what's happening. Judge issued summary judgment ruling in bankruptcy case of Deion Sanders' son Shilo. As you know, a federal judge has issued a ruling in the bankruptcy case of Shilo Sanders, giving the Colorado football player a victory that keeps alive his efforts to discharge more than the $11 million in debt. But the case is still far from over. Judge Michael E. Romero ruled the case would require a trial of sorts to determine whether the son of Colorado coach Deion Sanders was being willful and malicious when he allegedly assaulted a security guard at his school in 2015 when Shilo was 15 years old. The court has already determined the issue of willful and malicious behavior will be relitigated in this proceeding. Romero said in his ruling issued Tuesday, obtained by USA Today Sports, that determination will necessarily involve an examination of any justification, including self-defense, offered by Sanders for his alleged willful and malicious behavior. And remember, I told y'all when we went over that last article that the judge in Texas left those words off of the document, that whatever Shilo was guilty of, he left off the words willful and malicious. And that matters. Words matter when it comes to court documents. So whatever the judge's intentions were, he meant to leave those off. So Shilo missed that court date. So the judge gave him a default ruling to the charge of $11.89 million. And since that ruling, the judge didn't put that whatever Shilo was guilty of attacking Darjeem was willful or malicious. And that left the door open for this to be retried. And this is where we are now. If the judge had ruled the other way on this matter, Shilo Sanders would have suffered a crippling blow in his efforts to erase his $11 million debt to John Darjeem, the security guard he allegedly assaulted in 2015. He would have been on the hook to pay that money back to Darjeem pending appeal. Instead, his case will continue to be fought on multiple fronts more than 9 years after the controversy started. How did this bankruptcy case get this far? Darjean had sued Shilo in 2016, seeking damages for what he described as severe and permanent injuries, including incontinence. He said Shilo swung an elbow at his upper chest and punched him as he tried to confiscate his phone at school. Shilo and his father, Deion, disputed the allegation, saying it was Darjean who was the aggressor, not Shilo. Shilo even testified in pretrial proceedings and filed a counterclaim against Darjean. But he didn't show up for trial in 2022, leading to a $11.89 million default judgment against Shilo Sanders in 22. After Darjean pursued debt collection. Oh my God, my phone is loud. After Darjean pursued debt collection at the judgment last year, Shilo filed for bankruptcy in October 2023 in an attempt to get rid of that debt. Now, I'd say Darjean was the aggressor, because the only way you get elbowed in your chest is if you're behind somebody. So he said Shilo elbowed him in his chest and then punched him. You don't get elbowed in your chest unless you grab somebody from behind and they trying to get you up off. Because if you in front, that's a forearm. That ain't no elbow. He said elbow. So that means he was behind Shilo trying to grab that phone and probably had him holding him in the back. And Shilo hit him with that, get up off me, son. But Darjean wants the money he is owed and is fighting Shilo's discharge attempt in the bankruptcy court. What was this bankruptcy ruling about? Debtors generally can discharge their debts by filing for bankruptcy, as Shilo Sanders did last year. The reason he did so was to erase this $11 million debt to Darjean so he could get a fresh start free from the oppressive burdens of his debt, as his attorney said. But there are exceptions in the law that prevents debt from being discharged in certain cases. One of them is if the debt stems from a willful and malicious injury by the debtor. And that's what he was trying to say that Shilo was. But remember, in that other court case, the one in Texas that Darjean got the default ruling on, those words weren't on the document. The judge agreed that Shilo assaulted him. But to cause him injury by willful and being malicious, that's a different ruling, you know. But without those words being on the document, like I told y'all, Darjean, this going back to court. It has to be. And now, for that to happen, when they go back to court, what they're going to try to do is determine Shilo's mind state while that incident was going on. 9 years later, or 10 years later, because it'll be 2025 when they go back to court. Now, 10 years later, when Shilo argues this case, and his mindset, he's smarter now, he's older, so he'll be able to express how he really felt at that time. But in response to Shilo's bankruptcy filing last year, Darjean's attorneys filed 2 complaints to contest Shilo's attempt to discharge, as Darjean continues to pursue the money Sanders owes him. In one of those complaints, they argued that Shilo Sanders should not be allowed a discharge of this debt because it stems from a willful and malicious injury. It's not on the document. They wanted the judge to make a summary judgment ruling about this, arguing at a hearing in Denver last month that the matter was already litigated in a state court in Texas and it should be precluded from being litigated again. But the bankruptcy judge didn't fully agree with Darjean's attorneys and denied their summary judgment motion as it related to whether Shilo's behavior was willful and malicious. He only agreed to the issues of causation and damages were litigated in state court, not Shilo's state of mind during the incident in 2015. See, that's what I just told you. The state court order and judgment in Texas are devoid of any decision, any discussions of Sanders' intent, the judge wrote. That meaning what the judge wrote on that last paper in Texas, that the state court was devoid of any decisions of Shiloh's intent. So they said that we don't know what his intent was. We haven't heard of him. And the reason they don't know what his intent was because Shiloh wasn't in court. Shiloh missed the court date. So therefore, he wasn't able to present his case and tell them what happened from his point of view. So that's what gets us to where we are today. Given this lack of findings, the court is reluctant to conclude the issue of self-defense was fully and fairly litigated in the state court. Correct. If Shiloh wasn't able to present his case, then how can you say that it was willful and malicious? How does the judge know how he was feeling about the situation at that time? So therefore, that's why the judge didn't put that on that paperwork in Texas. Why did the judge rule in Shiloh's favor? The problem for Darjean in this matter is that the state court in Texas didn't include the words willful and malicious in its findings and judgment against Sanders in 2022. But it left no doubt about who was responsible. Okay? So they knew Shiloh was responsible for him being hurt. But if it wasn't willful and malicious, then him being hurt is just circumstance of what the altercation that took place. The court finds that John Darjean injuries and damages were a foreseeable consequence of a physical assault perpetrated by Shilo Sanders. The state court said in its findings of facts and conclusions of law in 2022. Correct. So they determined that Shiloh did it. It's his fault, but it was because they were in an altercation, not because Shiloh was trying to hurt him on purpose. That wasn't good enough for the bankruptcy judge to rule Shiloh acted willfully and maliciously during this alleged assault in 2015, at least according to the bankruptcy law. Being willful and malicious relates to his state of mind at the time. Sanders pled self-defense in the state court answer, but he obviously was not at trial and did not present any evidence regarding his state of mind. The bankruptcy judge wrote, one could argue the state court necessarily rejected all of Sanders' plea defenses when it determined he committed assault. However, the state court order and judgment makes no mention of self-defense or any justification offered by Sanders for his actions. There is no indication the state court considered Sanders' state of mind or whether his alleged apprehension of danger was reasonable. Correct. They couldn't because he wasn't in trial. He didn't testify. So they got to give him a chance to plead his case. The judge said, issue of willful act and malicious injury or self-defense, and those matters will be determined in this proceeding. That means in trial of sort on this matter in the future. Meanwhile, the trustee overseeing the bankruptcy estate recently has been seeking information about Shiloh's assets in an effort to collect them for creditors. Now, that being said, the judge just said, okay, since that wasn't Shiloh's state of mind wasn't determined in the Texas case, we're gonna have to go back to court. We gotta have us a trial, and we gotta relitigate those facts to see if his assault was willful and malicious. So Darjean also has another complaint pending that accused Shiloh of omitting or concealing assets. Shiloh's attorney disputed this and said they have cooperated. He's just trying to find the money. They can't find it. Shouldn't be able to find it. Shiloh, now 24, is a graduate student at Colorado and will play his last collegiate game on December 28th in the Alamo Bowl against BYU, which is true. That's Saturday. We're going to whoop BYU and get it over. But yeah, so the moral of what we find out here is that soon this case is going back in front of the judge. The judge wants to hear Shiloh present his case on what happened that day because he never got to tell his side of the story. And then they would determine if the damage that he did to Darjeem was willful and malicious. But what's going to hurt Darjeem is that he was already injured before the altercation with Shilo. He had already had a couple of surgeries. His back and stuff was already screwed up. He probably wasn't supposed to have been working as a security guard. So his injuries were already there, pre-existing injuries. Shilo might have re-aggravated them, but he already had those injuries. And that's what they're going to find out when they go to court. And they're also going to find out the exact moment of that fight and what happened and where Shiloh's head was at. Was he really just trying to defend himself, or was he trying to punish Darjeem? Which he should have been doing both, because it sounded like Darjeem grabbed him from the back, Shilo hit him with the elbow, turned around and hit him with the left or the right, depending on which side he was on. Because he said he elbowed him in his chest and then punched him. So that means he hit him with the elbow to get him off him, and then when he turned around. Can't blame the man. But anyway, man, y'all know what's up. We caught up right now. But y'all want to go back and see what we started? The Shilo playlist is on my page, and I'll put a link in the description toward the end of this video so you can go check it out. Might put it somewhere toward the middle, but go check it out. All the rest of the videos will get caught up. I appreciate y'all for watching, man. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the video, do what you do. Appreciate y'all for watching, man. Merry Christmas. Y'all have a good day. I'm out. Peace.